Hi, welcome to Tea with Tina, where we share our latest sports activities and shenanigans. Yeah, so the last few weeks have been exciting. Come back from training camp and straight back into a variety of triathlon-related activities. So last week we went up north towards sort of Derby to see Matt Bottrill. If you haven't heard of Matt Bottrill yet, he's sort of the bike fitter, the bike aero guru. And my kit sponsor No Pins organised for me to go and see Matt to really dial in my aero position and to really make sure I've got all the gains on the bike that I can have for this point of the season. So yeah, we made a trip up there with our green camper van, which is fun. We hadn't taken it out in a while. Did our first camping night as well. Had the whole campsite for ourselves because obviously it is April and no one wants to go camping yet. So it was just us, Ollie and me, in a camper van in this like empty camping and caravan park campsite. So that was really cool. Didn't sleep much because it was just hossing it down all night. It was really windy and like thunderstorms and stuff. But yeah, anyway, went to see Matt. He's got his little office in this industrial estate and we met up with him early in the morning. He sort of squeezed us in last minute, 7 a.m. So quite an early start and it was such an experience. It was amazing. I'd heard of what the bike fitting is like with him. It's very intuitive and like he looks at you, has got an idea of what he wants to achieve, and he'd seen some of the photos of me riding on Instagram and he already sort of knew where he wanted to get me. It was quite an interesting approach to bike fitting, but I mean it's amazing. That man has got so much experience. Anyway, what he does essentially looks at different elements of your cycling movement, sort of your position on the saddle, how you connect to your pedals, your front end and so on, and like adjusts it along the way. So I think we spent like 3 hours in there with him. Had a little chat, sort of just like see what I was trying to get out of it. And then he got me on the orthopedics machine. It's like this machine that like makes you insoles, which essentially allows you to have like perfect connection to your pedals via these like carbon soles that are like custom molded to your foot. So you're standing on these like rubber cushions and you sort of like sink in, and then he puts the warmed up carbon soles on there, the insoles, and then you go on it again with your foot. And it just like creates this like custom mold for your foot, and now like it's so snug, like I'm in the cycle shoe, I'm super connected to the pedal, it's amazing. And then so that's the first thing we did, and then after that he started looking a bit at my saddle position and actually used this like saddle pressure sensor. It's like this like saddle pad that you put on top of your saddle, you sit on it and it shows your distribution of your weight on your saddle, and for me was way too front loaded, so we did some adjustments there to make sure my weight was more evenly distributed to obviously increase comfort, but also like help you like stay in that position to improve your power output without you shuffling around and like sort of moving too much in the air as well. So we did that, and then the big issue was the front end, so we had to do some rescrewing, and like essentially Matt wanted to get me from my, I don't know, what was it, 43 centimeter position to like even less, to like 36, 38. So that was quite cool. He essentially custom molded and custom put together this whole front end based on these like carbon pads he'd got. So obviously every bike is different, right? My bike's a bit unconventional. It's like a bit of a new model. It's got a slightly different front end to like sort of many other bikes. And he just had everything there to just like on the spot craft you these like attachments and pads and balls. So I thought it was amazing. It's like a man is an engineer, not just like a bike fitter. So he was sort of like drilling and bolting things together and like put these like Kismet carbon pads on the front end, change the angle of my carbon, of the sort of the TT poles, to essentially allow me to get my head in between my arms. Before I was sort of arms 90 degrees and like I was sitting on it, right, with my head. And now the waist changes, like sort of like brought the arms up and forward a bit, put these carbon pads on and like wedge me into this high position. And then crazy thing is like I have no other option than like to drop into this aero position. So it's amazing. It's like, it's not me having to hold the position, it's the position forcing me into this position. So that was quite cool. So I did all these adjustments on the spot. It took a bit of a while, but like I could really tell the difference. And yeah, I'm just like really like rooted on my saddle, planted in that position. And we've tested it already in a little time trial, and gosh, it's fast. It takes a bit of getting used to, because the other thing he did as well, he changed the position of my cleats on my cycling shoes. So obviously the further back your cleats are, sort of the further back towards what's the opposite of heel? Your heel. Towards your heel. The better usually the power output, because you're pressing with your whole foot and you're engaging like your whole leg muscles. We already had them quite far back, but actually Matt wanted to get them even further back, the cleats, even further towards my heel. So he also had this attachment that goes on, it's like adapter, so that the cleats can go even further back. And now that means that I'm using my quads much more. So I'm sort of using the big muscles. And initially it was getting quite sore from it. And it was like 3-hour bike fit, and I cycled maybe 4 times 5 minutes on there. And my muscles were sore because it was just like using different muscles. So yeah, so it feels like I'm in this like super aero position, planted on the seat. It's comfortable because I'm sitting well. I'm well connected to the pedal stroke. It was an amazing experience, I think, that whole like iterative process. And most of it was visual. I mean, there's some things I think he looked at on the screen, such as the saddle weight distribution, but mostly like, because he's seen like 4,000 people doing bike fits before. He just has that idea of how he wants you to be, and he's got that sort of incredible like gorge of like, this is what an aero position looks like for this kind of person. So yeah, that was really cool. And because he went up north after saying goodbye to Matt, we were like, well, let's meet up with my coach. My coach, John Cowell, is based at Spring Lakes, which is like a lake just outside Nottingham. So we went to catch up with him, did my first open water swim this season. It was so cold. It's like 13 degrees or 12 degrees. It was so cold. I usually thought I was a bit of an all-weather swimmer, but oh gosh, no. I swam like 12 minutes, and like he came along with me with a kayak. First 2 or 3 minutes, absolute face freeze. But then he did some swim filming. And actually that went really well. I really felt like a winter of swimming in the pool and of doing fast swim work, and like just got me quite balanced actually. So I was swimming super straight, doing a bit of sighting, sort of felt like a fish in the open water again. Like actually didn't take me much to adjust other than the temperature. But I left after 12 minutes, about 800 meters, and got out. So yeah, Jesse was pleased with my swimming, and we sort of managed to catch up. It's really good, I think, when you have remote coaching to just like stay connected every now and then to see each other in person. So we're trying multiple times a year to make a trip up to see John, whether it's for lactate testing or just for like a little catch up, or in this case. So yeah, bit of a highlight. And then at the end of last week, we took the new TT bike with the new setup to the New Forest to do a little club time trial on the bike. So that was really fun. Tried it out. Actually, the thing I noticed as well, other than it just being quite a actually fairly comfortable, aggressive position, I feel a bit more confident to actually just go over bumps and like sort of navigate the terrain, which I previously didn't. Probably also part of me riding on my TT bike indoors all winter, so just feeling like I'm fairly comfortable in the bars, sort of navigating around things. So that was a bit of a trial. It went really well, I would say. The whole of Southampton Tri Club was out there. It was this like communal training day where we all do like a swim time trial, and then a time trial in the New Forest and a little run. So yeah, it was a great opportunity, and just looking forward to another 4 or 5 weeks until Kraichgau, to making some smaller micro gains, sharpening up my running, and yeah, just go in the sea and do some proper open water swimming once it warms up. Cheers.